You hear that crunch? Hello friends, welcome back to the series that I call I'm gonna show you how to cook something a new and exciting way. Hey, I'm Candace the Edgy Veg and welcome back to my channel. I make new videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. So if you love delicious food that happens to be vegan and you like to learn new ways of cooking things that you've been making your entire life, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss out on new videos every single week. Twice a week. I am going to show you how to make quinoa onion rings. So this recipe is inspired by a restaurant here in Toronto called Fresh. I've been going there since I moved to Toronto 10 years ago. It's delicious. I have some of her cookbooks as well. The owner, Ruth Tall. These have always been my favorite onion rings in the world. This recipe is adapted from her recipe. So we're using some puffed rice and some panko breadcrumbs for the breading to make sure that they are nice and crunchy and delicious. And then I'm also going to make a really thick batter to make sure that those things stick to the onion rings. All right, let us begin. All right, the first thing we are going to do is make our batter so it can sit and thicken up for a second while we kind of put everything else together. So in this batter, I'm just using regular all-purpose unbleached flour. You can use any flour that you want. If you are gluten-free, you can use just a 1-to-1 gluten-free flour or like a rice flour or whatever flour you like to use. So I'm just going to add that to a bowl. And then to that, I'm going to add in baking powder, cornstarch, and salt, as well as some curry powder. I'm going to give that a whisk. Then I'm slowly going to whisk in the soy milk. And again, any unsweetened plant-based milk will work. But as you guys know, when it comes to breading and cooking, I prefer soy milk because of the high protein content. And I like the way that it cooks. I find it to be a lot more stable than say almond milk or other milks. So just mix that until it is more or less smooth. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, so we have that. I'm just setting it aside. Now I'm going to work on the breading. For this, I am using puffed quinoa, which you can find at most health food stores or like the healthy green section of your grocery store. I have some panko breadcrumbs. You can use any breadcrumbs that you want, but these are the ones that I had. They also happen to be gluten-free. Again, if you are gluten-free, this is probably a great option for you, or whatever gluten-free breadcrumbs you have access to. Some nutritional yeast because it's delicious. Some garlic salt, because why add garlic powder and salt to a recipe when you can just add garlic salt. Some ground ginger, some oregano, and also thyme. So I'm going to start with the panko breadcrumbs, and then the spices and nutritional yeast. And again, if you have like a favorite spice mix that you like, you can use that. You don't have to use the spices that I've chosen. These are just the ones that I love in most of my fried recipes, whether it's like a fried cauliflower, fried seitan, or whatever. These are just my favorite ones to use. Once that is well incorporated, just add in your puffed quinoa. So it's very similar to the recipe we did a couple weeks ago where I used crisped rice to make a fried chicken or vegan fried chicken. So it was chicken fried cauliflower. Okay, so I am heating up my oil. You can do this in a deep fryer. You can do this in a pan or a pot on the stove. You can also bake it or air fry, and I'll get to those instructions a little bit later. But while that is heating up, I am just going to take another bit of flour. This is about a cup, and I'm going to sprinkle it onto my onions and coat them completely. So you can use whatever onion you want, whether it's red or cooking onion or Spanish. I chose Spanish onions. You want them to be quite big when you buy them, but again, we only have access to so much. These are more medium sized, but they're actually perfect as well. And you wanna cut them just thick into rings and then separate them. And then we are going to add in flour. If you have a bag, you can do this in a bag as well. I just try not to use a lot of plastic, so you can just as easily do this in a bowl. That was like a stutter and a half. Good God, am I okay? You can just as easily do this in a bowl. So just kind of make sure it's all coated. All right, so I'm taking the onion and it's now coated in flour, and I'm going to put it into my batter. Coat it completely and let any excess kind of drip off. Make sure you got the inside there. Let any excess drip off. You want it thick, but you also don't want to use all of it because you have other ones to do. and then put it into your mixture. Just like we did with the Rice Crispy cauliflower chicken recipe, we are pressing that quinoa onto the onion and then putting it back onto this cooling rack and letting it sit. All right, so I've let these sit for about 10 minutes. By the time you kind of get to the end of your bowl, Molly's helping me. These have been sitting for long enough. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab one. I like to use this guy so I can gently lower him into the oil. This oil is about 350. You want to cook them at about 325, 350 for about 2 minutes, which I'm going to time on my phone like I always do. And I just kind of go in with tongs and you can move them around as you need to. But this is going to happen relatively quickly. I would do, like, depending on how big they are, like 3 to 4 at a time. Definitely do it in batches or else the temperature of the oil is going to go down and it's going to take forever, and then you just have oily onion rings. Because of my need to not create more dishes in my life than I need to, I'm just going to take these guys out and put them back on the lined baking tray and go in and flip them. And what I like about this recipe is that they are super crispy, like right away. You are definitely in for a crunchy adventure. All right, so this guy's more or less done, I think, and let it drain on your cookie sheet. And then repeat with all of them and keep going. Ah. Make sure to bring your oil back up to temperature. Chances are it's dropped a little bit. And if you do see some particles kind of floating around there after this batch has cooked, you can go in and just collect them, or else the oil is just gonna brown. So the less debris in the oil, the less smoky it's going to be. There you have it, delicious quinoa onion rings, and you can serve it with any dip that you love. I made it with the spicy aioli from my cookbook, which I think pairs perfectly. Any like chipotle dip or even like garlic mayo or anything like that will be really tasty. You hear that crunch? Oh my gosh, it's so good. So tasty. And the onion's perfectly cooked on the inside. And it's not overly oily because we created a nice seal with the batter. Oh my gosh, it's so good. You have to make this, and that's all I have to say about that. It's just that good. You just have to make it. All right, if you like these recipes, give this video a big, huge thumbs up, and let me know in the comment section down below if you have a recipe request. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, and I'll see you next time. Bye.